Hello everyone, welcome to Blue Bud Adventure. Today we're going to talk about how to cook Chinese lionhead pork meatballs, also so called in Chinese 狮子头. These are all the ingredients on the kitchen counter. So we'll need grounded pork. This is actually Berkshire pork, the best graded pork you can purchase. This is a rice wine. This is starch. And this is actually a 5-spice powder. We put it in the airborne jug. And this is water chestnuts. Egg white. This should be refrigerated, but I just took it out for cooking purpose. Salt and banana breadcrumbs, sugar, chopped cilantros, and green onion and ginger. A knife and board. First, we're going to open the water chestnut and chop everything into pieces. Into bits. This will take some time. Water chestnut is quite crunchy. It adds the really crunchiness to the meatball. This is actually one of the secret ingredients in the Chinese lionhead meatballs. Use the chopper to chop them into bits and pieces, small bits. You'll put them here. Then you chop the ginger into pieces, meaning very small bits. Essentially, the secret about Chinese cooking is a lot of chopping before the food is made, very different from Western style cooking. The diners will do a lot of work, such as cutting steaks, cutting lamb chops while you're eating. Chinese people like to enjoy when they're eating. They don't want to do work. So a lot of chopping and cutting happens before the food is made. It's a different style of dining and working out. So chopping veggies into pieces, especially bulk veggies. So first you cut them into thin slices, and then you chop the slices into bits, and then you use a chopper. It's actually quite meditating, I would say, because when you're doing that, you will be very focused. You'll have nothing else on your mind. Otherwise, you'll cut your own hand, which will not be good. So make sure you line them up. Essentially, when you do that, it's better to put on your glasses, because if there's a lot of onions, you may start crying because they're spicy, and those will get into the air and then get into your eyes. Yeah. Please don't scrub your eyes with your hands at the moment. It will not be a pleasant experience. Add in the chopped cilantros. This is roughly 2 pounds of Berkshire grounded lean pork. We love lean because fat are probably not good for everybody. Actually, too much meat is not good. But hey, for the weekend delicacy, let's have something heavy. And mostly, the children would love it. It was one of my favorite dishes when I was young. All right, everything in. And we've opened the breadcrumbs. This is about 1 pound. Essentially, the ratio is roughly 2:1 or 1:1. So you would think that's a lot of breadcrumbs, but actually you could barely taste the breadcrumbs once the meatballs are made. Mystery. This is a 5 spices powder. Miraculously, with Oriental cooking, we don't measure the ingredients with scales. The cooks will generally know what the portions are. Adding in some salt. A lot of scallions, a lot of cilantro, and water chestnut, and a huge spoonful of cornstarches. 2 spoonfuls. White sugar, because we're going to add in some rice wine, and the wine is a little bit bitter. Sugar is going to offset the bitterness of wine, but it's going to clean up the original smell of the pork a little bit. Add in egg white to make the meatball loose. Now we're ready to use machinery. This is KitchenAid. Cool. Typically, we put it at a later low speed. Occasionally, we can add 1 cup of water, so the mix is not too thick. Roughly, it takes 2 minutes, and you can tell the meat and the ingredients are pretty well mixed. And right now we're using a tin foil covered baking pan as a placeholder for the lionhead pork meatballs. The reason for the tin foil is so that the meatballs don't stuck on the pan itself. It's easier for cleanup. All we're doing right now is to take our mixed ingredients and shape them into meatballs. The longer you do the rolling in your hands, the rounder the balls will be. So invest some time and love in the meatballs. While you're shaping the meatballs, you can actually put the deep fryer on, heat it up, because in order to drive efficiency, you can start deep frying the meatballs while making them. Because it roughly takes about 5 minutes to do 1 batch of deep frying. And then you need to leak the oil, have the oil dry up before you put them into a big pot. And when you're shaping the meatball, put in your love, your patience, your passion for your family, friends, who you're cooking for. This is actually adding a lot of joy in your life and in their lives. So the diligence is paying off. Look at all the lionhead raw pork meatballs we've made. And the deep fryer is heated up, so we're going to slowly putting our meatballs in to deep fry. Depending on the size of the deep fryer, I think it can host 6 to 8 in a batch. Looking really good. This is our current batch. While it's frying, you continue to finish shaping the meatball. We're almost there.
And what's the temperature of the oil?
It needs to be maxed out, about 375 degrees, and generally would recommend 3 to 5 minutes. Then we're going to use Chinese wok to cook lionhead meatball soup. It goes with Chinese cabbage or Chinese bok choy, as well as rice noodles. It's really delicious. All right. The first batch of the lionheads are done. The color is golden and tiny brown. This will guarantee the inside is soft and juicy and loose, but the outside is a little bit tight and crunchy. We're ready to start the soup. Turn the fire on. Put in water. A little bit first. Essentially, we will need soy sauce into the soup. 1 spoonful of sugar. Put the meatball in. And then continue to add more meatball. into the deep fryer. And while the meatballs are boiling, we can prepare the Chinese bok choy. The way to clean it is to cut the roots first and then wash them leaf by leaf. Make sure there's no bugs, no caterpillars, and no dirt on them because they are freshly picked from the fields. For best enjoyable flavor, it's better to slice the veggies. We're so productive with our lionhead pork meatballs. We actually have a full wok and a full pot. We have to use a wok cooking Chinese food. Otherwise, I'll get constructive feedback from Uncle Roger. He's been giving enough feedback. Chinese food, you need to use a wok. Hiya. And very, very important thing about lionhead pork meatball, in order to make it authentic, you have to put in the thick noodles. They're made from green beans. And it'll take some time for it to cook, which is fine. Generally, I would allow 10 to 15 minutes to cook the thick noodles. And when the noodles are almost ready, you put in the sliced bok choy, because the bok choy only need to stay in the soup for 1 minute, so it doesn't go flaky, I would say. It'll still taste like very fresh, crunchy veggies, but well done. So that's what we're doing. And then afterwards, the last we put on is onions as decoration after you turn the fire off. So I think this is the pot we're going to eat for tonight. That one is for tomorrow. Believe it or not, there are 4 people in our house, and these many lionhead meatballs can only last us 2 meals. We have 2 teenagers who have great appetites. This is the final presentation of the Chinese lionhead pork meatball soup. We have some Chinese bok choy, scallion, and the noodles are fully cooked now, ready to be served. Bon appetit!